Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you dig the way that any of the content or the topics are being broken down or discussed here on the channel. Definitely appreciate anybody who's been rocking with the channel and the comments. Appreciate the support. Like my man used to say, 3,000%. I'm gonna get into some boxing, some bite down boxing commentary, some from a couple of articles that are out there on boxingscene.com and just ongoing stories in general. Pretty much all familiar with these at this point. And then I'm gonna start with some basketball, little basketball conversation. And then quickly, it's interesting, man. I mean, UFC has fights, I believe, tomorrow. They had a pay-per-view Saturday. And I think that kind of is where it kind of ties into my discussion on like the state of boxing that I'll get into. Just to keep it separated though and to get it started. Shout out to my man Adrien who used to write on Bite Down Boxing right alongside with me and whatnot. Was actually gonna cover an event. Had the Casemiro and Inoue fight went through a couple of weeks ago. He was trying to get out to that in Vegas to support Bite Down Boxing, but it didn't happen, as you obviously know. But he actually put up a discussion in watching, what is that, 7 and 8 episodes of The Last Dance. The chronicling the events of the 97, 98 Bulls. That's on ESPN right now, the 10-part documentary. And his comment was about, how could the Bulls keep up with the Golden State Warriors. And I got clowned for saying, I just was looking at the matchups, the style of play, the way the way the game has changed, just how offensively dominant the Golden State Warriors were. I didn't give my winner in that series. But I think if you put those teams up against the Bulls teams, if you put them up against the first iteration of the Golden State Warriors when they had the two separate lineups, I can't recall if it was the depth lineup or the dead lineup. But that second group of guys that came on there, the Brazilian kid, Livingston, Harrison Barnes, or Iguodala, they were rotating them. The Spence kid was on there, and I can't remember the other guy. But they were loaded. But then you get to the 73 and 9 team. Games were over with in the first in the first quarter. The game was out of reach. And then you get to the team with Kevin Garnett. The last time we saw Garnett on the court with those guys, that team was phenomenal. All I'm saying is this. I hear people, my old buddy at Jeff Lambert at goingfor2.com mentioning that the Bulls would out-physical these guys and beat up on Clay and Steph. But, and Pippen with his length and so on and so forth, Rodman on Green. But that's why you move the ball. That's why, Popovich preaches about the ball not being sticky. That's what was phenomenal about the offense of the Warriors. It was damn near positionless. The ball was constantly moving. You have Steph Curry coming up and not even playing point guard all the time. They were able to shift that off to Green, much like Pippen being the point forward back in the day. And then you kind of take Rodman out of defending the post, and now he's out on the wing guarding Green, who earlier in their run, despite him not being a great shooter, he scored key buckets when that offense was clicking and hitting on all cylinders. like I said, in that 3-1, when they lost that 3-1 series to LeBron, he scored 32 points in the game 7. He scored he was the leading scorer of the team with 28 points in game 2, I believe. So to just assume this physicality, if you look at this right, you see it right now. I know Mike had the between the legs, game with the 63 or whatever against the Celtics, but him and Pippen move in straight lines. They dribble in straight lines. They ball fake, they jab step, and then they go. Or Pippen. MJ is in the short post punishing people, and his mid-range game is phenomenal. But when guys are shooting from 25, 27 feet deep with doing it efficiently, the dribbling that Steph Curry does, and having it on a rope, you didn't see this type of handle from Pippen and Mike. And then I don't know if you've ever guarded a shooter, lethal shooters from 3. When you can't get settled down in your stance and you overreact to everything they do because you don't want them to get a shot up, they can use that against you and your momentum. And then you throw the irky jerky style in there, the floater game that is dominant now for the little guys, the talented little guys. I just don't know how the Bulls are just without question. These new cats can't play with them. Then when you shift more defensive responsibility over to MJ, when Kerr isn't able to guard, Klay Thompson is a guy who moves in straight lines and whatnot. He doesn't really have that irky jerky side, got it on a rope or a string. That's not his style. But he's a lethal freaking shooter, and like I said, you can't settle down in your stance because you're reacting to everything that he does. Then the step back game. Just basketball is played so differently now. That's a asinine argument to me that these guys can't even compete. When they were blowing away the current NBA teams, and in the West, which was more talent laden at the time, how did they just can't compete with the Bulls? I don't buy into that. So that's my thoughts on that. I did want to get to these boxing topics very quickly. Derek James comes out and says that there's not enough money in the Crawford and his fighter, Errol Spence. There's not enough money there for that fight to be made. And that's kind of that summarizes everything about, I don't even know if I should be following boxing anymore. The best fight to be made can't even be made, just financially. And he's right. For the guaranteed money that those guys want, and probably what the all of the business people, the broadcast partners, what they see and what they expect and what the numbers show them, basis what we have to lay out just to get the dudes' names on the X's. Just the relationship and this stuff. The finances of it. This sport just seems to be untenable to me. And it almost makes me, I'm rewatching The Wire right now. I've mentioned this a lot lately. It's just I'm as frustrated as Stringer Bell when he was trying to get that property built downtown when he was dealing with the dude who was taking his money. But how does anybody make any money in this game? And that's what the broadcast people, all of the concerns of maintaining subscriptions, the fact that the opportunity to bring sponsors in is very limited. The guaranteed money, piracy versus pay-per-view. Aram did mention, some thoughts of can they bring the pay-per-view cost back into what it was probably 15 years ago. Once Mayweather took it up there to the $80, $85, everybody else wants to hover up near that, and it's not necessarily the same value. It's not making money the way that Floyd's fight did. So that's crazy. The best fight in the which, moving on from this point, which tells me is you're going to continue to get probably a lower quality fight for Errol with a whole lot of spin on it. They're going to try to sell some kind of angle for him to damn near get the same amount of money that he wants to face Crawford, but an opponent that's probably that is not a compelling or as intriguing matchup. And that's not good for anybody other than Errol Spence himself. Who is more unreasonable or more obtuse? I see this word used in a couple of movies. Who in boxing is more obtuse than David Haye and Adrien Broner? David Haye is managing Derek Chisora, I believe, and maybe a couple of other people through his Haymaker promotions or whatever. But how do you sit there and insert yourself into the conversation of the winner of, he would like to face the winner of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua? How is that possible? What has David Haye done at heavyweight? He walked out of the ring with his shoe in his hand after the Klitschko fight, stopped by Bellew. What has he possibly done to even to fix his mouth to even say that? How do you step to the front of the line like that when you've, and that's right now we have 6 or 7 more interesting guys than him. I'm blown away at that. Mr. Tone Deaf himself, Adrien Broner, goes on Instagram and says he wants $10 million. Is this his version of screaming of Pookie? Screaming, Scotty, come get me, and maybe DAZN, can you throw some money at me? Or who can I work with here? I mean, to suggest $10 million, if he was able to put 14,000 people in Barclays, just throwing that out there, and they put him against somebody fairly interesting, I don't know who that could be at this point, especially not that's PBC affiliated. But say for some reason he can still get 14, which is a stretch. Even at $120 million, $120 average cost of a ticket, that's like $1.7 million at the gate. In a perfect world situation. Where does the other 8.3 million come from just to pay for him? Again, it's the money in this situation and is, I just don't understand it. I can't even comprehend it. How do you fix your mouth or fix your fingers to type, if I don't get 10 million, I'm gonna start looking elsewhere? Bro, the door must be open to, like, go shop your services, bruh. I mean, seriously. It'd be different if he could throw in, hey, I want to fight a Maurice Hooker. Not that he's a big name, but if he wants to fight a Regis Prograis, like, I'm blown away. Like, what do you even do with that? What? I'm sure it probably doesn't even get. This is just like most athletes. I've mentioned this in a video earlier this week. When your production far out, is so upper echelon in your profession, people will and the production, the final product works and it sells, it's promotable, and it's appealing, widely appealing. People go through, they overlook whatever to do business with you. But the moment that appeal isn't there quite like it used to be. The final product isn't there like it used to be. People stop answering the phone. Good luck with that $10 million, which I just said we can't even get. You can't even. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford can't get 10 mil. Nobody's willing to cover 10 mil a piece for them, probably, guaranteed. But here it is, you in the middle of divisions. You want to be guaranteed to. Then lastly, Laila Ali pops back up on Sirius XM once again. I give her some credit. She didn't mention it from what I'm getting ready to go listen to the interview for myself on the Akin Barak show. All I saw was the comments that she made summarized on boxingscene.com. She didn't mention any money this time. That 5 or 10 million, again, $10 million. She wanted $10 million initially 4 months ago when this came up. She didn't mention any money this time. But she made a strong comment that she has put a muzzle on Claressa Shields. And I'll get to her when we get to her. Right now we're going through this crisis, this worldwide crisis, something I'm paraphrasing. So it's funny that she's bringing all the attitude and the spicy talk. And I do think she's working out. Now, Claressa Shields did a live stream on Facebook the other night. I caught part of it. She was being interviewed by Cornelius Bundridge, K9, two-time super welterweight champion. Everybody can't be an interviewer. I'm sorry. Everybody doesn't know how to. Whatever. I watched some of it, and and I mentioned this in a previous update on this ongoing situation. There have been serious talks. Layla was on this show and downplayed that there's been serious talk. She is, in my opinion, based on what I'm hearing, if you follow along and put all the statements together from the different sources, she does want to explore this fight. But again, what I was going to say earlier, with what I was saying earlier with looking at Layla against now fighting Claressa Shields, we can all run with Claressa might not be hasn't shown us that she's the heaviest handed puncher out there. Maybe that's a fair point. But Layla, again, she's bigger. Because she's bigger, she's stronger. We don't really know all of that. We don't really know what her boxing and the people that she faced back in the 90s, early aughts, we really don't know how any of that lines up with what she would see against Claressa Shields. And Claressa, in my opinion, over the last 2.5 years, has really worked on her craft. She can box. So for me to sit here, that's why it's somewhat of an intriguing fight for me. But I just wonder if coming off the bench at 42 with this COVID situation, maybe even 43, how does it play out in the ring? Like, can she really? I mean, you might be able to take some shots, but can you really set up your power? It's not like Claressa's gonna sit there and stand squarely in front of you and just trade blows. So it's somewhat of an intriguing matchup for me. It looks like she's a little bit more reasonable now and kind of getting an understanding of what the realistic size of the pie is that could be chopped up. And like I said, I tip my cap to her if they can make this thing work and they can figure out the numbers. I tip my cap to her for accepting this challenge. And these are probably some things that are pros for her. She's bigger, maybe stronger if you want to look, maybe. And then she believes that she's more of a power puncher. But she's spoken highly of her boxing skills too. But just not the same amateur experience of Claressa. So again, that's an interesting fight. Is it interesting at $75? Is it interesting at $65? Or is it more interesting at maybe $45? But again, how does anybody make any damn money in this game? I don't know how them two atop a card is that it really works for everybody. Now I do like what Team Empire has done with making a challenge to matchroom boxing for all of their women to challenge all of Matchroom's women. Who knows? I don't think Matchroom's even responded to that. Eddie Hearn. But let me get on off of here, man. Peace. I'm running out of time anyway. Have a great one.